Hi everybody, this narrated slideshow is meant to accompany a three-part learning community series with additional readings, worksheets, and conversation. And this is part 3 of that series, identifying barriers and adapting partnerships for greater community impact. In this narrated slideshow, I'm going to be covering the importance of evaluation and assessment in service learning and community partnerships, particularly around the importance of utilizing it for reflection, for building, for maintaining partnerships. I'll be talking about a few specific tools, such as democratically engaged assessment, which is a framework around evaluation and assessment in this field, as well as the TRACE evaluation tool, and then spend some time trying to bring it all together. So to start, I really want to talk about the importance of utilizing evaluation and assessment, not just as a requirement of programming, but as a form of partnership building. I've alluded in other sections of this series that utilizing the tools that our team offers in your classroom and partnerships can be a strong relationship building tactic. I would actually say that utilizing such tools and having a strong feedback loop is an essential part of building strong community partnerships. For example, a faculty member should develop a strong system for assessing student learning as it relates to community engagement. This system should be reflective of community partner goals and include partner voice. And the more directly student assessment of community engagement is communicated and connected for the student can directly impact how they view their experiences with partner, which can then impact their interactions. On another level, it is important for community partners to participate in evaluation processes that are designed or disseminated by communication professionals, university staff like myself, and these processes should be designed with community voice in mind and ask questions that will ultimately provide community partners the opportunity to share challenges, successes, and opportunities for improvement. So I'll give you a moment to read this definition, which comes from the book Principles of Community Engagement. And this particular definition really reminds us that thinking about the role multiple stakeholders play in evaluation and assessment, not just as respondents to whatever tools or assessment is created, is really important. And thinking about the roles of these multiple stakeholders can really provide the members of a partnership the agency to create better change. So as I've been saying, the utilization of evaluation and assessment is important more broadly and within individual partnerships during any particular semester for a lot of reasons. But it's especially important to be thinking about how these systems can be designed to go beyond the simple question of, are you getting what you needed out of this partnership? But to actually support building transformational partnerships. And this conversation about going beyond just what is happening, are you getting what you need, etc., can be had at all levels. So like you see here, utilizing evaluation and assessment is really essential as an institutional practice and should be modeled across individual programs and projects. Faculty members should have a strong assessment of their student objectives and the learning outcomes related to their service learning component or community engagement. And then the participation from community partners in these tools, both within the creation of these tools to make sure we're asking the right questions, and also in responding, is really critical in being able to kind of navigate the challenges that we just can't anticipate and adapting partnerships to ensure that the changing goals of community partners, community members, etc., are represented in the program updates and the partnership updates as they're made. So to put this conversation into perspective, I want to share a few examples of what evaluation and assessment can look like when it's utilized to really course correct. So my first example is on the student side. When filling out the pre-service assessment, which we send out at the beginning of each semester, they were asked a question about whether they understood how the service learning component of the course factored into their grade. They responded that they did not see a connection at all, and when we returned the survey responses to faculty members anonymously or confidentially, the faculty member in the SLTA saw that this was actually a theme across the course, which then prompted them to more directly outline how participating at their community partner site allowed them to connect learning about methods of social change through witnessing social impact at an organization. Without this clarification, it's possible that students would simply see their attending service as an extra homework assignment that they weren't directly graded on, and they wouldn't have been able to really make this strong connection. So as I've been saying, it's not just for students and for faculty members. This second example of how we've utilized our mid-semester evaluation tool. So through this tool, a community partner was asked to share how the first few weeks of service with the service learning students were going. And a community partner reading this question responded that they hadn't seen those students yet, that they hadn't showed up for what they thought their particular service was. And maybe it was just a misunderstanding, so they hadn't reached out to anybody else yet. But this fact that students hadn't showed up wasn't known by the SLTA and the faculty member. And so reading the mid-semester evaluation, the SLTA and the faculty member were able to contact the student, clarify the misunderstanding, which ultimately set both the partner and the student up for success moving forward. And I give these two particular examples because they were really easy to come up with because they happen all the time. It's the reason why we utilize and continue to utilize these evaluation tools and really preach open communication and feedback loops across all stakeholder groups. So as introduced briefly, I want to talk about one strong framework about evaluation and assessment within the service learning and community engagement field, and that is democratically engaged assessment. A lot of what I'm going to be pulling from is from a working group around this framework that published a white paper in 2018, and I'll just be sharing some quotes and information from them. So as you read this, which comes directly from this research group's website and is in their white paper, democratically engaged assessment, to put it into perspective, is more than just checking boxes. It's really an evaluation and assessment framework that's meant to center the goals and priorities and ideas of partnerships and create evaluation tools that meet those goals, rather than just a reactive evaluation tool for funding purposes or reports, and really only those reactive questions of, tell me how it went. So truly the goal of democratically engaged assessment is to reimagine evaluation and assessment so that it models the ideals and values of responsible or transformational community partnership that it's trying to evaluate. So it's putting the values of our work into the tools that we're utilizing to more holistically kind of liven up evaluation and assessment in this way. And so like I've said, it's really values focused, and Imagining America is an organization within our field that is really a creative and lively community of scholars who are working to build this connection and the quality of our publicly engaged work. So another tool I want to cover briefly is the TRACE evaluation, which you actually responded to and looked at this more in depth in the core reading as well as in the accompanying worksheet. So what I want to pull from the trace evaluation is that while this tool and others can be connected to a more thorough quantitative partnership analysis, the structure that it provides is also able to be used to spark reflection around how successful your partnership is. But when we say the word success, it's not always easy to determine what success looks like. And so tools such as this kind of provide some metrics that are connected to literature and experience. And so an evaluation tool like the trace evaluation can help partnership stakeholders dive deeper around whether this partnership is actually allowing for community impact and supporting community identified goals. So in closing, I want to kind of connect some of the dots across sessions, as this really is our final part to the learning community experience. So from the perspective of evaluation, the first moments of setting up a partnership and all the bits in between, it really is important to remember that there are various stakeholders who play a part in this partnership. While we use the term partnership probably more than any other word, these relationships can and do look and exist in so many different ways and are richer than just a one-to-one personal or professional or institutional relationship. It dives deeper into the multiple stakeholders that play a part in kind of this dynamic collaboration. And so through each part of a campus community partnership, it's critical to examine the ways in which individual positionality and power impact each of these relationships and experiences, which is something we talked a lot about in session 2, as well as the historical context by which a particular community is needing to establish their goals and priorities. And so coming at it from an asset-based approach, which we talked about in the first 2 sessions, and really thinking about establishing goals and priorities and thinking about community partnership and engagement from that asset-based approach rather than a deficit-focused one. And in many cases, we want to recognize and talk about the historical context of communities, because it's possible that the large institutions that are hoping to partner with community residents, members, and organizations have actually played a negative impact or a negative role in what this community may deem a goal and what they need. And so there's a lot of dynamic moving pieces within all of these, both individual and broader relationships. So to really bring it home, service learning partnerships go beyond the visible stakeholder, which might be the faculty member, the partner liaison with the organization, and the students who are enrolled in the course. And I want to think about how service learning partnerships can have long-lasting impacts on community members and residents, institutional practices, faculty members' teaching pedagogy, a student's pathway and goals post-college, and an organization's capacity beyond just one particular deliverable. And so it's why we talk about using tools that are value-centered. It's why we talk about the importance of open communication and meaningful partnership, the maintenance of these partnerships and what has to go into that, and really kind of recentering our conversations about campus community partnerships on community identified goals and how we have collaborations that address and ensure that they are creating the impact that's rooted in that goal. And all of these pieces are essential within our campus community partnerships. So in closing, here are a few of the references that I made note of during this narrated slideshow, as well as the ones that are included in the accompanying materials for session 3.